The incense has already burned out. The trial time is at 7 breaths or eternity. What exactly happened during the third young emperor's trial that caused the incense to burn out? This matter is too horrifying, it is beyond imagination. Just as all the cultivators around were still in shock and uproar, something even more shocking occurred. The second incense, representing the Earth Realm trial, actually, inexplicably lit up. No one touched it, but the second incense suddenly, with a loud roar, emitted a thick cloud of smoke rising into the air. Wang Lin broke through the sky of the human realm and appeared on a vast, endless land. Where he manifested, countless cracks spread across the earth, and a huge deep pit emerged, which led straight to the human realm. Wang Lin surged out of the pit, flames erupting from his body in all directions, instantly illuminating the land with a fiery glow. At the moment he appeared, at the far end of this land stood a bald mountain. Sitting cross-legged on top of the mountain was a man who looked middle-aged, wearing a scholarly robe and a square headband. In the middle of his forehead, there was an illusory vermilion bird seal. He had been meditating cross-legged, motionless for what seemed like millennia, but at this moment, he slowly opened his eyes, and a strange light flickered in his gaze. The aura of my kin. As soon as Wang Lin appeared in this earth realm, the sky was immediately filled with a violent flicker of fire. Azure light rushed out, enveloping heaven and earth. Looking around, a vast sea of azure fire suddenly ignited in the air. After the azure fire, blue flames followed, intertwining with the azure flames in an overwhelming surge. Blue flames originating from the azure ones, now in a fierce tangle, the heat waves roared as a purple mist-like flame swept across, covering the sky. It turned into a monstrous purple flame, like demonic energy flooding through. The three-colored fire tribulation of azure, blue, and purple surged toward Wang Lin in a fiery torrent. Wang Lin's face contorted, his soul nearly shattered. As the flames within his body erupted, his eyes clouded with confusion. In an instant, the flames inside his body broke through and exploded outward. The flames of red, orange, yellow, and green tore at his body, shredding him to pieces. Even the vermilion bird within him was consumed in a tragic cry as it was burned away. Wang Lin's soul shattered. At the same time, the azure, blue, and purple flames approached, and around Wang Lin's collapsing soul, 7 colored flames gathered. From a distance, it seemed as though a rainbow was burning the heavens. The middle-aged man at the end of the land's gaze changed, his right hand suddenly raised, and he swept it forward. At that moment, the mark on his forehead flashed and shot out at an incredible speed, heading straight for the 7 colored flames. Simultaneously, on the Emperor's star under the human realm incense, Wang Lin, surrounded by 7 colored flames, saw his body immediately develop a network of fine cracks. These cracks quickly spread across his entire body, and blood began to seep out from them, a sight that was both shocking and terrifying. The old vermilion bird, without a second thought, moved, directly appearing beneath the burning second incense. Ignoring the incense's rapid burning, he placed his right hand on it, and an immense divine sense surged forward, heading straight inside. The blue dream Tao sovereign also stepped forward, appearing under the second incense in an instant. His body flashed with blue light, and his right hand suddenly pressed 2 fingers onto the second incense. Within the earth realm, amidst the 7 colored flames, even the first ancestor of the Vermilion Bird clan could not pass the 9 revolutions karmic tribulation without the protection of an immortal venerable, as Wang Lin's soul was burned away. Just as his soul dissipated, 3 powerful forces rushed in. But just as they neared, a strange power suddenly erupted from the burning 7 colored flames. This power emanated with the weight of eternity, as though it came from the very origin of the heavens and earth, sweeping outward from the 7 colored flames as if it were the ancestor of all things. The vermilion bird seal on the middle-aged man's forehead collided with this strange power and was instantly thrown back with a thunderous crash, rolling back for miles. It was as if the awakened strange force would not allow anyone to approach, or perhaps no one was qualified to get within a fraction of it. On the bald mountain at the end of the land, the middle-aged man's eyes narrowed suddenly, and he stood up. A look of terror surged in his eyes. What? What is this? The old vermilion bird's divine sense approached, but as soon as it touched this strange power, it was immediately sent flying back, thrown out of the earth realm. The blue dream Tao sovereign's divine sense followed closely, but upon touching the strange power, his blue light flickered rapidly, and he immediately retreated, being forced out of the earth realm in an instant. On the Emperor's star, outside the second incense, the old vermilion bird's right hand was lifted by a great force, his expression showing disbelief, instinctively taking a few steps back. What kind of power is that? The blue dream Dao sovereign's fingers went numb, and he also stepped back a few paces, his face full of shock. He knew Wang Lin well and immediately recognized that the terrifying force he felt was sky-defying. Blue Dream Dao Sovereign did not speak. After a moment of silence, he turned and returned to Li Qianmei's side. This time, no harm. Sima looked on in shock. He could clearly tell that Blue Dream Dao Sovereign and the others were trying to save someone, but never expected that these powerful beings would be repelled. Grand Diviner Yin Luo's expression darkened as her right hand rapidly formed hand seals. She had a vague feeling that the hidden truth of the situation was about to be revealed. Meanwhile, Mystic Tone Dao Venerable suddenly stood up from the clouds, his gaze flickering. Waterpath Master was right after all. In the Earth Realm, at the very instant when Wang Lin's soul was completely burned away, Sky-Defying finally appeared. Since the departure of the Boundary Sealing Sovereign all those years ago, Sky-Defying had never shown itself. Even though Wang Lin searched his mind in vain, it seemed as though it had disappeared. But now, Sky-Defying reappeared. The moment it appeared, the surrounding 7-colored flames trembled and began spinning wildly, all being drawn into the strange force emanating from Sky-Defying, transforming into 7 undying flame seeds. A bead the size of an infant's fist suddenly floated in midair. The 7 undying flame seeds hovered around it, and gradually, a shadowy figure, seemingly reformed, appeared in the world. The 7 undying flame seeds were located all around this illusory figure's body. As the figure opened its eyes, a fiery explosion erupted from the 7-colored flames, transforming into a 7-colored firestorm that howled through the world. Wang Lin, calm as ever, looked up toward the distant sky within the storm of flames. In that fleeting moment, it was as if the world had shed all its colors. Apart from the 7-colored fiery tempest surrounding Wang Lin, everything around him turned black and white. It resembled a landscape painting, where the black and white conveyed an endless desolation. The 9th Revolution's karmic tribulation's final 2 tribulations descended. White represented heaven, black represented earth, and the flames of these 2 extreme colors merged and gathered toward Wang Lin. In an instant, these 2 flames neared him, as though heaven and earth were squeezing together to destroy the 7-colored firestorm and Wang Lin within it. Their speed was so fast that, in the blink of an eye, the white flame reached the front, its high temperature spreading and immediately burning the 7-colored storm. The storm slowed, and with the white flame's integration, a new color was added to the rainbow. Surrounded by 8 colored flames, Wang Lin remained calm, watching as the last black flame approached. The 9th Revolution's karmic tribulation rose from the black flame and fell into it, forming a cycle. As the black flame neared, Wang Lin slowly closed his eyes. A deafening roar echoed as the black flame surged through the earth, merging with the 8 colored flames, turning them into the ultimate 9 colors. All 9 colors of the karmic tribulation appeared, creating a world-shaking storm that roared through the heavens and earth. In the center of this storm, Wang Lin's hair moved as if blown by an invisible wind. Apart from the 7 undying flames, black and white flames rapidly condensed within him. The white flame gathered in his dantian, while the black flame gathered in his brow. At the moment these 2 flames fully transformed, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes. Booming sounds shook the world. "Burn my karmic tribulation flames." Wang Lin's voice echoed through the surroundings as the 9 colored flames within his body rushed toward his brow, merging together in an instant. They transformed into a 9-colored fire lotus. The lotus had 9 petals, each a different color. In the instant it appeared, a 9-colored vermilion bird materialized from the lotus, soaring into the air. The vermilion bird, as if reborn from the flames of the lotus, flew in the sky, tilting its head and letting out a deafening cry, the sound of the vermilion bird. The 4th Awakening's cry. On the Emperor Star, this awakening cry resounded. The Earthfang incense had only burned halfway, suddenly halting. It emitted a 9-colored glow that illuminated the Emperor Star within. The old vermilion bird, stunned for a moment, then laughed loudly, his expression filled with excitement. He actually passed the 9th Revolution's karmic tribulation and ignited the karmic flames, causing the 4th awakening of the vermilion bird. The flames required for this awakening are immense, and whether it fully awakens or ascends from the realm of physical fire to the ethereal flame realm depends on this moment. As an elder, even if I have to cheat, I will help him. With a loud laugh, the old vermilion bird's figure shifted, disappearing before everyone's eyes. In just a moment, a dragon's roar echoed from afar on the Emperor Star, filled with rage and grievance. In the distant sky, a massive flame dragon appeared, lifted by the old vermilion bird as it took a step forward. In the stunned gaze of the surrounding cultivators, the old vermilion bird carried the struggling flame dragon and arrived at the Earthfang incense. With a wave of his right hand, he cut open the wound on the flame dragon's head, where the scab had formed. Blood poured down like a waterfall, staining the burning incense with crimson. In the midst of intense pain, the flame dragon's eyes glistened with tears, filled with grievance and unwillingness, and its struggles intensified. With a sharp slap, the old vermilion bird struck the flame dragon, unleashing a surge of fiery power into the dragon's body, hastening its blood flow and causing its blood to spill even faster and in greater quantities. Damn it! Stop squirming, little dragon. If that kid succeeds in his awakening, I'll set you free. Upon hearing this, the flame dragon hesitated for a moment, but soon gritted its teeth and continued to squeeze out blood with great effort. This blood contained the essence of the flame dragon's fire, far more precious than any other blood in its body. Consequently, it was rare, especially after the old vermilion bird's slap, which nearly squeezed all of the dragon's fire blood out, dropping it onto the burning Earthfang incense. As soon as the blood touched the incense, it immediately merged into it, vanishing without a trace. In the Earth realm, the 9-color fire lotus floated in the sky, with Wang meditating atop it. Behind him, the massive 9-colored vermilion bird screeched continuously, its cries full of struggle, as if it were on the verge of rebirth. The heavens and earth shimmered with countless flashes of light, spreading in all directions, enveloping the Earth realm, accompanied by the fiery waves of the sea, roaring and burning in all directions. Wang's gaze was sharp as a sword. With a hand seal, flames suddenly burst forth from his left eye, transforming into a rotating 9-colored flame. The speed of its rotation quickly increased, and within moments, it became a swirling vortex of 9-colored flames. 9 colors merge into one, Vermilion Bird's fourth awakening. Wang's mind was clear. In his life, he had already experienced the Vermilion Bird's 3 awakenings, each of which greatly enhanced his fiery power. However, compared to the previous 3 awakenings, the current one was far more significant. The 4th awakening of the Vermilion Bird was crucial for the entire Vermilion Bird clan. It marked the transformation from physical fire to illusory fire. Throughout history, there have been very few individuals whose natal Vermilion Bird had undergone 4 awakenings, no more than 5. The first, second, and third generations of Vermilion Birds, as well as the 4 great Vermilion Birds, were the only ones. Apart from them, Wang was the sole exception. Even the third-step ancestor of the Fire Sparrow clan, despite having a trace of illusory fire in his flame power, could not be considered a true Vermilion Bird. After all, he was not born as one. Even if that person gave birth to illusory fire, compared to the authentic Vermilion Bird, he was just a perversion of the true power. The difficulty of the 4th awakening was beyond description, especially the divine ability of illusory fire, which shook the heavens and made all cultivators wary. However, for this 4th awakening, the required firepower had reached an unimaginable level. Only with sufficient heavenly and earthly flames could one hope for a successful awakening. Wang sat cross-legged, the 9-color fire lotus beneath him releasing endless flames that roared into his body. These flames swirled faster and faster within his left eye. Meanwhile, the massive 9-colored Vermilion Bird behind him screeched even more violently, its cries shaking the Earth realm. Not enough. The firepower is still insufficient. Wang suddenly looked up. His body erupted into flames, and the 9-colored flame vortex from his left eye materialized, surrounding him to form a 9-colored firestorm, which seemed to threaten the very destruction of the realm. Wang's 4th Vermilion Bird awakening relied on his karmic flame. It was his obsession with the tribulations of reincarnation that fueled this process, requiring even more firepower to ignite it. At that moment, the sky of the Earth realm suddenly flashed with dark red blood light. A thunderous boom filled the air as a small rain of blood began to fall. The blood rain fell from the sky, with each drop containing the essence of the flame dragon's fire, emitting a destructive heat that could scorch the heavens and earth. As it fell, it immediately gathered around Wang, forming a blood sphere. The blood sphere burned brightly. In an instant, it was absorbed by the 9-colored Vermilion Bird, and Wang's flames erupted in an explosive surge, even causing the Vermilion Bird to release an earth-shattering cry. The flames in the Earth realm grew even more intense. The blood rain continued to fall, and Wang's hands formed seals, causing the flames to burn even more fiercely. As the nine-colored vermilion bird in the flames screeched, its feathers burned, becoming even more vibrant with the fusion of the blood rain. It's still not enough. Wang Lin's eyes glowed with sharp determination. He could feel that the firepower necessary for his vermilion bird's fourth awakening had not yet reached the required level. At that moment, on the bald mountain of the Earth realm, a middle-aged man with a strange gleam in his eyes gazed into the distance. He formed a hand seal, and a fire symbol suddenly flashed on his forehead, floating in front of him. The flame was intangible, as though it didn't even exist. The middle-aged man sighed lightly and murmured, "This person carries a familiar aura, the same as my disciple Lu Yun. When I left all those years ago, that child must have suffered." His expression darkened, and his right hand reached for the illusory flame in front of him, flicking it outward. Immediately, within this earth realm, an immense illusory flame erupted, surging forward. This ethereal flame carried no heat, but it was capable of burning anything. As it appeared, it instantly broke through the heavens and earth, heading straight for Wang Lin's location. In the blink of an eye, this towering ethereal flame surrounded Wang Lin, swiftly merging into the struggling nine-colored vermilion bird's body. This middle-aged man was none other than the fifth-generation vermilion bird's teacher, Lu Yun's master, the fourth-generation vermilion bird. He had already experienced the four awakenings of the vermilion bird, entering the realm of illusory flame. Now, with a simple wave of his hand, he used the illusory flame to assist, and as it merged into Wang Lin's nine-colored vermilion bird, the bird once again let out a high-pitched cry. The flames surrounding Wang Lin's body immediately multiplied several times. With the assistance of this sudden surge of flames, Wang Lin, sitting cross-legged on the fire lotus, threw his head back and let out a long howl. The flames on his body instantly became wild, and the nine-colored flame storm raged around him, enveloping both Wang Lin and the vermilion bird. In the midst of this swirling storm, it seemed as though the nine colors were about to merge into one. The rotation grew faster and more intense, and amidst the constant booming sounds, the nine-colored flame storm began to resemble a chaotic void, the nine colors within it becoming blurry. In an instant, the red color within the nine hues collapsed with a loud crash, vanishing entirely. Following that, the orange color flickered and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The two flames seemed to merge, making the storm even more potent. The entire Earth realm was now enveloped in a sea of fire, burning fiercely. At this moment, on the Emperor Star, the flame dragon gazed longingly at the old vermilion bird. The dragon flame blood within its head had already been drained dry, unable to squeeze out even a drop. The old vermilion bird glared and shouted, "What are you looking at? The dragon flame blood is gone, so use regular dragon blood. Your body is large enough, it won't hurt to bleed a little." The flame dragon was about to roar in protest, but the old vermilion bird was faster. With a swift motion of both hands, an invisible force sealed the dragon's mouth, forcing the roar back into its body. Taking advantage of this suppressed roar, the old vermilion bird swiped his right hand across the flame dragon's body, and immediately, 100 zhong-sized wound appeared, with blood pouring out like a waterfall. You've already drained all the dragon flame blood, and if you stop now, it'll all be for nothing. That boy won't awaken, and I'll never fulfill my promise. The flame dragon's eyes were filled with grievance, but after hearing the old vermilion bird's words, it closed its eyes and crazily squeezed out its blood, internally howling. These damn vermilion birds, they're all freaks. It was that generation of vermilion birds who tricked me out of the flame domain when I was young, constantly draining my blood. When will this end? Now that the second generation vermilion bird has promised, I'll give it my all. A large amount of dragon blood fused into the earth fong incense, causing a torrential blood rain to fall within the earth realm, making the flames burn even more fiercely. Although this dragon blood wasn't as powerful as the dragon flame blood, its sheer quantity made up for it. This suddenly thickened the flames needed for Wang Lin's fourth awakening. The flames outside his body raged as the red and orange flames dissipated. Soon, the yellow flames exploded and vanished, followed by the eerie green ghostly flames, which also faded away. On the Emperor's Star, the old vermilion bird's eyes gleamed with determination. Gritting his teeth, he made a hand seal and pressed his finger to his brow, then raised his hand and pointed at the earth fong incense. Immediately, a surge of illusory flame erupted within his body and shot toward the earth fong incense. Little one, I've given everything to help you. Whether you succeed in the fourth awakening depends entirely on your destiny. In the Earth realm, after the blood rain poured down, the old Vermilion bird's illusory flame surged forward, covering the sky and fiercely merging into Wang Lin's Vermilion bird. The influx of power caused the green, blue, and purple flames in the storm around Wang Lin to collapse and dissipate without a trace. At this moment, the 7 flames in the storm had merged, leaving only the black and white flames, which were still struggling. Within the storm, Wang Lin's eyes flashed with a strange light. He raised both hands and flicked them outward, murmuring, "The fire has reached its peak. There is nothing left to burn. In that case, I no longer need to assist. Black and white, I wish to forcefully merge. Taoist arts merge." With a roar, the black and white flames in the storm trembled, and a strange power emanated from Wang Lin's body. This power could merge all things in the world, and as it spread, the white flames in the black and white storm instantly vanished. The entire storm was now left with only black. The black storm continued to swirl, but its color gradually faded and weakened. Moments later, with a long howl as Wang Lin stood up, the black flames suddenly collapsed with a roar. 9 colors merge into one. At the moment of merging, within the storm, Wang Lin's Vermilion bird directly broke out. The Vermilion bird was surrounded by a faint, ethereal flame, and as it burst out of the storm, it emitted an earth-shattering cry of the Vermilion bird. The Vermilion bird's 4th awakening, complete. 4th awakening, transform my solid fire into illusory flame. Wang Lin suddenly leaped up. Beneath his feet, the 9-color fire lotus shattered, turning into countless fragments, which then gathered into the Vermilion bird and flew away. Especially the shards of the 9-color fire lotus formed a 9-color armor around the Vermilion bird. Once surrounded, a sea of flames surged in. In an instant, not a single fragment remained. They were all absorbed into the body of the Vermilion bird. From a distance, it no longer looked like a mere Vermilion bird. It was clearly an immortal fire spirit from the heavens and earth. The flames emanating from its body had reached the peak of solid fire, and any further advancement would lead it into the realm of illusory flame. The Vermilion bird's fire spirit seemed to twist, its flames roaring as it underwent its final transformation. This process could take any amount of time, but it could not tolerate any interference. The opportunity to awaken the 4th Vermilion bird would vanish if disturbed, and it would regress, never to have the chance again in its lifetime. This moment was critical for Wang Lin. However, just then, a shocking change occurred, something Wang Lin could never have predicted. From outside the Earth realm, the Emperor's star, above the arena where tens of thousands of cultivators watched in rapt attention, was unnoticed by most. But at this moment, the mist surrounding the Emperor's star, formed by primordial magnetic rift, was rapidly swirling. Amid the clouds, a booming sound echoed. The Emperor's star, which had been slowly rotating, was now shaking violently. The cultivators around the arena immediately felt a vibration, as if the earth was shaking and the sky was tearing apart. Indeed, the Emperor's star was slowly turning. What should have been an imperceptible rotation was now increasing in speed, and in no time, the Emperor's star was spinning wildly, just like a compass needle. The sudden change shocked the surrounding cultivators. Simaja's eyes widened in horror as he abruptly looked up. Grand Diviner Yunluo, who was beside him, made a gesture with her right hand, but with a loud bang, her hand was mangled. She staggered backward, her face instantly turning pale as she spat out blood. The Emperor's star has fallen into chaos. The primordial cataclysm is coming. Grand Diviner Yunluo stumbled backward, trembling with fear, muttering to herself. Her calculations had nearly reached completion, but just then, a force from an unknown source descended, causing her right hand to explode. In that moment of distraction, as her right hand was destroyed, a blurry vision appeared in her mind. She saw a vague figure, surrounded by a bead, with a compass-like object behind it. In the distance, the primordial star was bathed in a sky-high blood-red glow, surrounded by countless corpses. The entire star had turned blood-red. She saw the mystic Tone Dao Venerable's body crumble, his essence spirit perishing, and saw numerous third-step great powers of the ancient stars dying tragically. She also saw the collapse of the boundary ceiling formation. And then she saw herself, struck mercilessly by the blurry figure. Her body instantly experienced unbearable pain, turning to ash, and her essence spirit was destroyed in that moment. The last image of her, just before her essence spirit perished, was a haunting, terrible scream. In her last moments, that figure turned around, as if glancing at her. That glance became her nightmare. Spitting out blood once more, Grand Diviner Yunluo staggered back, her expression filled with unprecedented fear. Mystic Tone Dao Venerable sprang into the air, his cloud beneath him dispersing. In his hand, a fan materialized. As he swept his divine sense over the surroundings, his expression immediately changed. Not only him, but Blue Dream Dao Sovereign also narrowed his eyes. With a wave of his hand, blue light radiated from his body, surrounding his daughter. His gaze, like lightning, shot up to the now chaotic sky. The sky was now shrouded in mist, charged with magnetic power, and flashing with endless tearing energy. The primordial magnetic rift outside the Emperor Star was being drawn back due to the sudden rotation of the star. Old Vermilion Bird's expression grew solemn as he looked up, silent. Even the old beast-skin elder, who had been meditating on the lizard beast, suddenly opened his eyes in shock. If they were affected this much, the tens of thousands of cultivators around them were even more agitated. They scattered in fear, and a sense of terror filled their hearts. At that moment, it felt as if the heavens and earth were shaking, as they could clearly feel the Emperor Star rapidly rotating. Naturally, they too were drawn into the motion. The giant turtle on the arena also raised its head and let out a piercing cry. More and more mist formed from the primordial magnetic rift appeared in the sky. Before everyone's eyes, it swirled into a vortex, crashing down with a roar, heading straight for the giant turtle on the competition grounds. Thousands of cultivators scattered in shock, each revealing an unmistakable fear. Only old Vermilion Bird and a few others remained motionless, their eyes fixed on the rapidly approaching primordial magnetic vortex. This vortex surged in suddenly, not attacking the giant turtle but heading directly for the second incense stick on its back, Earthfang incense. In an instant, the vortex rushed in at incredible speed, crashing into the Earthfang incense with a loud boom. From a distance, this scene was astonishing, as if the Earthfang incense had transformed into a black hole, devouring all the primordial magnetic mist in the sky above. Old Vermilion Bird's eyes widened in shock, instinctively gasping. What? Simasha's expression turned horrified, bewildered by the unexpected change within the Earthfang incense. As for Grand Diviner Yunluo, whose complexion turned pale, upon witnessing the influx of the primordial magnetic mist into the Earthfang incense, the fear in his eyes intensified. Could it be? Could it be that the illusory figure is him? Similarly, Mystic Tone Dao Venerable stared intently at the Earthfang incense, his mind shaken as he internally screamed, "Heaven Defying! This is definitely the power of Heaven Defying, Heaven Defying!" Inside the Earthfang incense, Wang Lin was at a crucial moment of transforming solid fire into the illusory realm. Suddenly, the hidden Heaven-Defying pearl outside his body erupted with a surge of cosmic power from within him. Wang Lin's expression shifted as he instantly felt the Earth realm shake violently, as if it were spinning rapidly, making it difficult for him to discern what was happening at that moment. Then, in an instant, the sky of the Earth realm was suddenly replaced by a thick mist filled with an overwhelmingly powerful magnetic force pouring down upon Wang Lin. There was no opportunity for Wang Lin to evade, as the endless primordial magnetic mist crashed down upon him, flooding into his body and piercing into the Heaven-Defying. Within Wang Lin's chest, the Heaven-Defying pearl transformed, resembling a cyclone that constantly devoured the incoming primordial magnetic power. Its light flickered urgently. With each flicker, more of the magnetic mist was drawn inside. All of this transpired in the blink of an eye. In an instant, Wang Lin felt a thunderous roar within his body. As the Heaven-Defying absorbed the primordial magnetic power, it released a force that surged into his soul, causing a series of images to flash within his consciousness. These images all depicted the same object. It was a colossal compass. This compass was so large it could rival the starry sky. On its face was a massive needle, slowly rotating, with ghostly lights flickering from it, sometimes shimmering outward in rhythm with the needle's movement, vanishing into the ether. At the very center of the compass was a gigantic pearl. That pearl was none other than Heaven-Defying. While these images appeared within Wang Lin's soul, a similarly awe-inspiring illusion materialized outside the Emperor Star in the realm of the primordial cataclysm, within the land of falling stars. Outside the Emperor Star, the vastness of the starry sky shimmered with endless light, gradually revealing a huge circular object resembling a compass. This object emerged as an illusion, with the Emperor Star at its center, appearing just like the compass needle. At this moment, The Emperor's star was spinning rapidly, as if the compass needle were in motion. In the center of the compass, a hazy pearl flickered, appearing murky while vaguely revealing a person's figure within. It was Wang Lin. That Emperor's star, spinning like a needle in circles, suddenly shuddered, stopping its rotation with its needle pointing southwest. The moment it came to a halt, a ghostly light flickered across the Emperor's star like a needle, rushing forth toward the southwestern sky. This ghostly light, whatever it was, suddenly departed from the land of falling stars with indescribable speed, flickering away. All that stood in its path, whether cultivators or cultivation stars, crumbled into nothingness upon contact with this ghostly light. In the blink of an eye, the ghostly light reached the southwestern edge, where the boundary sealing great array was located. Outside of this array, countless cultivators had stood guard for eternity. At this moment, these cultivators found themselves suddenly bewildered, as if the ghostly light flashed by, each of their bodies shuddering before crumbling into dust. The ghostly light collided with the boundary-sealing great array, causing it to churn like boiling water, all its spirit tools transforming within the brilliance. In a burst of light, the ghostly light dissipated, leaving them unclear whether it had merged with the formation or shattered it entirely. The illusory compass outside the Emperor's star gradually faded away, and the Emperor's star ceased its rotation, returning to its original state. Within the Earth realm, after the heaven-defying pearl in Wang Lin's body absorbed the last remnant of primordial magnetic mist, an immense magnetic force suddenly erupted, seemingly ejecting everything it had just consumed. Wang Lin's body was like a sieve, suddenly bursting with a vast amount of primordial magnetic mist from within. The Vermilion bird beside him, which was in the crucial moment of transitioning from physical fire to ethereal fire, was struck first and foremost by this magnetic mist. In the instant the mist swept across, the Vermilion bird's body shook violently, and its physical fire collapsed entirely, transforming into ethereal fire. However, this ethereal fire underwent a bizarre transformation because of the magnetic force, resulting in a change so strange that even the first ancestor of the Vermilion bird clan would be shocked. Ethereal fire was the annihilative flame of the Vermilion bird clan. It could kill, but could not be extracted from the cultivator's body. Its quantity was eternal because it was formless and indestructible. When physical fire transformed, its power was fixed and remained the same until the cultivator's death. But now, in the moment of birth, Wang Lin's ethereal fire was swept by the primordial magnetic mist, causing a transformation so peculiar that even the first ancestor of the Vermilion bird clan couldn't comprehend it. This ethereal fire, in that instant of birth, absorbed a trace of primordial magnetic force from the mist. If that was all, it would dissipate quickly, as external forces gathered within would soon vanish. But within Wang Lin's ethereal fire, this magnetic force was released by the heaven-defying power, making it eternal. As a result, while the power of the ethereal fire remained unchanged, its existence made Wang Lin the first person in history capable of absorbing ethereal fire. Wang Lin's ethereal fire wasn't powerful at the moment of birth, but as it continued to absorb, its strength would become terrifying. The primordial magnetic mist erupted from Wang Lin's body, rapidly spreading, soon covering the entire Earth realm. Moments later, it broke through the realm and surged from the Earth-Fong incense on the Emperor's star. The endless primordial magnetic mist swept into the sky above the Emperor's star, spreading outward and eventually surrounding the star, forming a primordial magnetic rift around it. At first glance, it seemed unchanged, but if one looked closely, differences could still be detected. Before entering heaven-defying, the primordial magnetic rift appeared lifeless, filled with brutality. But now, it seemed to have transformed into a cohesive whole, almost as though it had gained vitality. The thousands of cultivators on the Emperor's star stared blankly at the scene. When the Earth-Fong incense released all of the primordial magnetic mist, the massive incense, which had already burned halfway, suddenly emitted cracking sounds. These sounds were sharp and clear, resonating in the ears of all the cultivators. Fine cracks appeared on the incense, multiplying rapidly until the entire incense was covered. With a boom, the Earth-Fong incense snapped in half, and the burning half tilted downward, piercing through the giant turtle below and landing with a loud thud on the arena. A deathly silence filled the surroundings. On the back of the giant turtle, the human realm incense extinguished. The Earth-Fong incense had broken. The only thing left standing tall was the last stick, the Tianfeng incense. Grand Diviner Yin Luo's face grew even paler. The breaking of the Earth-Fong incense seemed to sever her connection to her own mind, deepening her fear. It can't be him. It can't. It definitely can't be him. Sima, parched and dry-mouthed, was stunned by what he had witnessed during Wang Lin's trial. The scenes unfolding now exceeded his imagination. Even now, he felt disoriented, his mind filled with deep apprehension for Wang Lin, whose soul was still missing. Such a situation should never have occurred. As a third step great power, to feel this apprehension toward a cultivator still in the second step. Yet, it was happening to Sima now. Mystic Tone Dao Venerable stared at the broken earth Fong incense, narrowing his eyes. He flipped his hand, pulling out a peach, biting into it greedily, with a fleeting look of desire in his eyes. Heaven defying. Heaven defying. I, Mystic Tone Dao Venerable, will have it. Blue Dream Dao Sovereign's expression was complex. He withdrew his gaze, remaining silent. Beside him, La Qianmei lowered her head, her expression unreadable. The old Vermilion bird scratched his head, a bitter smile appearing on his face. This little one, what on earth has he done? The disturbance on the Emperor Star just now clearly had to do with him. What secrets is this boy hiding? Now look, the first incense has extinguished, and the second is broken. How can we continue this trial? How can we calculate the results? After a brief silence, the thousands of cultivators around them erupted into an uproar. The second incense actually broke. This. The third young emperor, who is undergoing trial, what cultivation level does he have? How could he achieve this? The extinguishing of the first incense was already shocking, but compared to the broken incense, that is nothing. This matter likely has nothing to do with the third young emperor. The broken incense must have been caused by the primordial magnetic mist from the Emperor Star. But why did that mist suddenly swirl back into the incense? Various thoughts ran through everyone's mind, but one thing was common. All eyes were fixed on the first incense stick, and on Wang Lin, who remained with his eyes closed, waiting for his awakening. Will this person awaken, or will he, as before, simply light another incense stick out of thin air? Inside the Earth realm, after the primordial magnetic mist within Wang Lin's body surged forth, the heaven-defying pearl in his chest gradually concealed itself, disappearing without a trace. The entire Earth realm fell silent, with only the illusory flame on the Vermilion bird in front of Wang Lin silently burning. After a long time, Wang Lin looked at the Vermilion bird, took a deep breath, and instantly, the Vermilion bird let out a shrill cry and flew straight toward Wang Lin, merging into his left eye. In that moment, a powerful illusory fire erupted from within Wang Lin's body. This ethereal flame was formless and colorless, spreading around him, radiating an immense force capable of destroying worlds. After exhaling a deep breath, Wang Lin raised his head and gazed into the distance. After a moment of contemplation, he chose not to leave. Instead, he took a step forward, his figure moving like lightning, crossing millions of miles, appearing at the edge of the Earth realm, on the barren mountain that had not been consumed by the firestorm earlier. On the barren mountain, the fourth-generation Vermilion bird sat quietly. He felt everything that had transpired before with clarity, his heart shaken. However, he was no ordinary being. Soon, he suppressed his shock and silently gazed into the distance. Before him, the heavens and earth twisted, and Wang Lin stepped out, coming to stand a few meters beside the fourth-generation Vermilion bird. They stood there in silence. After the fourth awakening of the Vermilion bird, the illusory fire still needs time to nurture. You must remember that, the fourth-generation Vermilion bird said softly, turning to look at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's gaze turned complicated as he looked at the middle-aged man before him. He clasped his hands in respect and asked, "Senior, are you the fourth-generation Vermilion bird?" "I am," the middle-aged man nodded. Wang Lin remained silent for a while, then quietly spoke. "The fifth-generation Vermilion bird did great favors for me." Before he passed, he never stopped thinking about the time he spent as the fourth-generation Vermilion bird's attendant. A hint of sorrow appeared in the middle-aged man's eyes, and he silently nodded. His voice was tinged with melancholy as he murmured, "I understand." Wang Lin raised his right hand and waved it through the air, immediately causing a spatial crack to open. From within, a stone statue slowly emerged. The statue was unmistakably the corpse of the old sacred Vermilion bird, transformed after death. The old sacred Vermilion bird dedicated his life to the Vermilion bird sacred sect. In my view, no one is more deserving of the title of Vermilion bird than him. Wang Lin stared at the statue, memories of the past flooding his mind. When the old sacred Vermilion bird was struggling for the Vermilion bird sacred sect, you were not here, and neither was the second-generation Vermilion bird. Within the Four Saints sect, the White Tiger's sacred emperor died in battle, the Black Tortoise sacred emperor defected, and the Azure Dragon sacred emperor was trapped. For tens of thousands of years, only the old sacred Vermilion bird remained, holding everything together, until death. He never forgot about the Vermilion bird sacred sect, never forgot his master. Wang Lin stepped back a few paces and knelt before the statue, bowing 3 times. In a low voice, he said, "Old sacred Vermilion bird, I have brought you back from the Vermilion bird sacred sect. Today, I return you to the 4th generation Vermilion bird, to your home. I can never repay your grace, but my promise will remain." After standing, Wang Lin cast a complex glance at the 4th generation sacred emperor and clasped his hands, saying, "Thank you for your help just now, senior. I take my leave." With a soft sigh, Wang Lin turned and began walking toward the sky. He could accept the 2nd generation Vermilion bird, but he could not accept the 4th generation Vermilion bird. Had it not been for the 4th generation Vermilion bird leaving, the old sacred Vermilion bird would have certainly been part of the 4 awakenings. Had the 4th generation not left, the old sacred Vermilion bird would never have perished in the void. The 4th generation Vermilion bird gazed at the corpse of his disciple, his body trembling. His eyes filled with deep sorrow as he slowly stood up and approached the body. His trembling right hand gently caressed his disciple's face. "Lu Yun, Master, I'm sorry." The 4th generation Vermilion bird's eyes filled with tears. "I know everything about the Four Saints sect, but I can never return. When I came to this ancient star, an unforeseen change occurred, and a mysterious figure sealed me." The 4th generation Vermilion bird muttered, his expression suddenly aging. His gaze at his disciple's corpse was full of sad reminiscence. "In these years, I've tried countless times to break the seal, but have never succeeded. Even the first ancestor could not undo it. I am forced to remain in this earth realm, unable to take a single step out. If I leave, the seal will explode, and I will lose my mind and become insane. Lu Yun, it's not that I don't want to return. I just can't." Tears fell from the 4th generation Vermilion bird's eyes, landing on his disciple's body, filled with endless sadness and painful memories, and above all, deep regret. "This seal is not just on me. The 2nd generation Vermilion bird also bears it. Under his suppression, he can leave this earth realm, but he cannot leave the land of falling stars. The land of falling stars, the land of madness. This is the place where my Vermilion bird clan falls. Either we die in madness, or we break through and emerge." The 4th generation Vermilion bird murmured bitterly, as if explaining to his disciple. Wang Lin's figure moved toward the horizon, growing farther and farther, until it finally vanished without a trace. In the instant his figure disappeared, beneath the first extinguished human realm incense on the Emperor Star, the closed eyes of his physical body suddenly opened,